Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Flying Pig United. You're with me, Maisy, and John today doing the end of season review. John, how are you doing?
I am super excited. Joe called me up to action, and whenever Joe calls me, whenever he contacts me, I know he wants to chat and we have a great time. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to join us today, but hey, to step in and, chat with, what do we call ourselves now? The Flying Pig Army. I'm back. I'm like the old school Joe back in the day when he used to be called Flying Pig HD. So it's a different squad, but the same family. So I'm super excited to be here.
It's really good to talk to you again. I know it's been a long time since me and you have chatted, and it's great to be back onto the channel. And just wanted to say I'm thinking of Flying Pig as well at this time. Um, yeah, this season, and before we go on to the season, I wanted to go on to the actual game from yesterday. I know it's gonna probably cause a little bit of heartbreak to talk about it, but I just wanted to get your views on that.
I'm just to kind of touch base on what happened yesterday. Of course, as a Man United fan, nobody can sit here and tell me it wasn't a sad result. It wasn't a devastating defeat. Just to watch Manchester City of all teams to do that the way that they did, it's difficult. And for me, despite the result being the way it was and the performance and whatnot, we can get into that later. But for me, I just want to kind of start off the conversation by saying that I think rather than doom and gloom, I think we're still in good hands. I finished that match obviously devastated. And then actually the switch happened rather quickly where I said, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. This Eric Ten Hag side, this Manchester United side, it's had its highs and lows. They've shown flaws and they've shown parts of the season that needs to be remediated. There are aspects of this Man United squad that needs to be fixed and addressed ASAP. We all know that. The answers are
Mm-hmm.
clear as night and day. I think for me, Manchester United is a side that's filled with promise, is a side that's filled
Mm-hmm.
with potential. And Eric Ten Hag is one of the managers that I back 1,000 gajillion bajillion percent. And I couldn't be any more happier with what they've done this season. So I've watched it off already. I'm good. I can't wait for next season. That's all I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I do. I know with the season itself, I think it's been an absolute fantastic season. Myself, I did say, oh, I think we're going to be finishing fifth place, but I think we'll do well in domestic cups,
Mhm.
such as the Europa League, and I think that was how I thought that we was going to get into the Champions League if we won the Europa. And I said that was probably for me the best bet because we get a trophy out of it, and as well we get Champions League. And I do think for me we have over exceeded in I think what a lot of people thought because I watched plenty of people who thought was going to be finishing sixth, seventh place, and they didn't. We thought they was going to get wrote off very early on in domestic cups and the Europa League. So I think in a kind of way, at time to time, before the season started, we come in as a bit of underdogs who didn't really know what Eric Ten Hag was about. They didn't know much of what the players was about, apart from them odd Champions League games and from Ajax, and no one really knew much of Malacia playing at Feyenoord. So I think bringing in the players that suited him worked out so well, and on top of that, being in that team where a lot of people didn't think was going to do well, I thought we'd been absolutely spectacular.
I agree 100%.
Hmm. And I know the actual game itself yesterday, it wasn't a good game. And Ten Hag did say in his conference about nobody has gone tit to toe there with Manchester City in a game when conceded so early on. So that was great signs to see as well.
Oh, for sure. People seem to forget and understand that there's a different ambiance and energy and pressure that comes with playing in a final
Hmm.
versus a Premier League match. And people said, "Oh, there are certain Man City teams that got results against them." I mean, there's certain teams that got results against Man City. Why is Eric Ten Hag saying things like that? It's different. The way that Manchester United kept the energy going, the way that Manchester United kept the intensity going. I understand that Man City at times they looked like they were freaking just man was out there just fucking I don't know if we can swear here, but there was rondoing. It was just like they were having a great time juggling the ball around Diaz, Rodri, freaking John Stones. They were playing around at one point, and it looked ridiculous. But Eric Ten Hag, what he's saying is that we were able to put our foot forward and say, "Look, we're here to play ball. Like we're here to game, and we're not messing about." And we showed that element. Look, I know this is all, hypotheticals, but let's say Lisandro Martinez was fit. Let's say,
Mhm.
I don't know, even Martial was available. You know what I mean? Let's say we had a much more healthier squad. I'm not beating a dead horse here, but if we're just speaking in conjectures, it might have been a different game. The ability to be able to be
Mhm.
a bit more steadfast and strong from the back. When we went 2-1 down, we brought on Scott McTominay, and because Fred was booked, he was kind of tucked in as this like makeshift center back, obviously minimizing contact to avoid the red card, and Scott McTominay advancing more as the advancing midfielder. Not to put anything against Scott McTominay, but there are certain elements where that if we had a full squad, it definitely would have felt like it would have been a different game, and Manchester United would have come up a bit more threatening. And I think
Mhm.
Eric Ten Hag, what he's saying there, given the situation that we had ourselves, given the situation that we had, there was definitely a factual statement in the sense that Manchester City, they should be worried about next season, because Manchester United, if we get the right signings, which I believe we will, I'm confident. I think it'll be definitely a different story.
Mhm. Absolutely. I do see what you're saying as well because I know a lot of people with Anthony, for instance, he has caused a lot of divide for the fan base. A lot of people like him, a lot of people don't. I know people have the reasons as to why and don't like him, but he did give a lot of balance onto the team, which was a great factor for Anthony. And I think that's something that was missing. And a winger who was able to track back and do the dirty work, as you'd like to say. We missed that kind of aspect there of Anthony. Also, I think playing Rashford and the 9 role didn't particularly help neither because that really limited his space. But I agree with Martinez too. I think Martinez has been a miss. That bit of hunger, that little bit of fight. He's one of them kind of players, like he does not care what he does. He just wants to get them 3 points. He wants the best for that team. And he is definitely a worthy leader in that squad in several years to come.
I agree 100%. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that I'm super hopeful and excited for not just next season, but
Mhm.
also the future of Man United, especially under Eric Ten Hag, because, you know, Manchester United fans over the last decade, we've been experiencing so many highs and lows. It's just been an absolute disaster class to a little bit of hope, and then an absolute nightmare, and then a little bit of hope, and we've just been thrown around. We've literally been tossed around like a damn salad. And for the first time, we've had a full season where we've all sat at home or sat at Old Trafford or sat in an away end thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is not bad. We're okay." So I'm excited. I'm really excited. Lisandro Martinez, you touched up on. He's an incredible player, and he's going to be a player for the future. And I cannot wait to see him come back and just full fitness, just kicking dope ball next season.
I absolutely love Eric Ten Hag as a manager. I feel like this is the first time post Sir Alex Ferguson I can look at and go, wow, he is a Manchester United manager. The fight he brings on, he wants to play the best squad week in week out. He wants to get the best in every single domestic cup, every single league game, even in Europe. He wants the best out of the team. He wants to bring the hunger back to Manchester United. The fact as well is what's really good is that he's making Old Trafford more like a fortress again, which we have not seen for such a long time. Where a lot of teams like coming to Manchester United, where they're thinking Old Trafford. What's Old Trafford anymore? I could get 3 points here now at Old Trafford because this team isn't as hungry as they used to be. But Eric Ten Hag has changed that. We haven't lost a home game in the league since Brighton, which was the first game of the season, which speaks the levels of what he is doing with that squad, considering the amount of injuries we've had.
Of 100%. Like, managers can come in, and I'm not trying to drag any previous managers, but they can come in and chat all they want about how they want to make Man United great again with the home form being, good, and bringing Old Trafford back to being a fortress and all that good stuff. But what Eric Ten Hag has shown this season is the tactical brilliance, as well as the understanding of how to be a proper in-game as well as off the pitch manager overall, treating his players well, making sure that these players are in tip-top shape, focusing on what it means to be a Man United player. You see players like, I think Val Vegas is a player that I kind of want to bring up to this conversation, simply because
Yeah.
he gets dragged so much, right? He is, let's face the facts. We're not here to, fluff crap. At the end of the day, he's not a good high enough quality player to play for Manchester United. But one thing he's exhibited, which I absolutely love, by the way, is his passion and desire to play for Manchester United. As a Manchester United player, you need way more than that. But at least Val Vegas has brought that energy back. And Eric Ten Hag has made it seem like it's back to being like, you should be honored to play for Manchester United. You should be honored to play under the floodlights at Old Trafford. Like, he's brought that energy back, and it translates to the performance on the pitch. And I think that's why the home form has been so good.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and I do think we are bringing, just as you mentioned with Wout Weghorst, you're bringing in players who actually want to be at Manchester United. Like, you want players who. I've said for quite a long time with Manchester United, they are bringing in players there where it's, they come here for commercial reasons. They've come here in terms of the wage salary. But these players who are coming in, they're coming in because they want to play for Manchester United. They want to play for the manager. They want to play for the fans, and they want to play to try and make Manchester United to be what we were many years ago.
We can't have players joining Man United because they're here to collect a paycheck. Like, that's one thing that's for certain. And that's not, I'm not throwing any shade at the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Angel Di Maria, Bastian Schweinsteiger. I love every single one of these players for the quality that they exhibit. I mean, Angel Di Maria a little bit less because I think he's a little bit of a snake. But anyways, my point is that Manchester United have to be brought back to this status both on and off the pitch. And on the pitch perspective, Erik ten Hag has brought that. And he's shown to the world and to the footballers out there that are thinking about making a move, looking for new exciting projects, that Erik ten Hag's project is the one to really consider if Man United come calling, because hey, we mean business.
Exactly. And looking at this performance and and the overall season's performance, how far do you feel like we are from, for instance, getting a proper title race with Man City, or even potentially winning the title? Because I've always said with Manchester United I think it is a 3-year plan with Ten Hag. That's why he's probably signed a 3-year deal. And by the time it gets to the year 3, he wants to be challenging or even winning that league title. And I think this season, I've always said, right off season, there is going to be some mistakes there. Second season, I expect a lot better. Top 4 fighting, trying to close the gaps. And then season 3 is where you do expect the race to come for Manchester United.
I'll answer that in a 2-part system. First of all, I think the FA Cup final, I personally think there are so many thematic things that we observed in that game, which was pretty much encapsulating the entire performance as a whole. For instance, Manchester United, we were all raring to go, and then off the rip, 14 seconds, we conceded a goal. There have been so many moments this season where you've seen lapses in concentration when we shouldn't be, especially when we're playing away. And we saw that. These are contracted players on $100,000, $200,000 a week. I mean, that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? To be able to step up in a game like that and to be in that kind of lapse in concentration is unacceptable, but it happens. That's happened many times this season. There was also moments in that FA Cup final where we looked like we were under pressure, but somehow we were weaving really world-class, nice transition plays through the thirds, and then finding an option in the final third, and then going for the shot, but unfortunately missing. We're building there. We're getting there. But we're not quite there just yet. And I think from a thematic perspective, it very much encapsulates what Man United are at right now. You asked me about where are we going, where do we see ourselves? I think as much as I am good vibes and all positive and whatnot, I think we're still a couple more to go. I think we need, first and foremost, we need to bring the right signings. We've been moving on dead weight. I mean, you saw, I don't mean to name drop Real Madrid, but you saw what they did. They dropped 100 mil on Eden Hazard, and now he's being released today. That man has scored 7 goals in 2 years or whatever, how long he's been there. That's 14 mil per goal, and they're letting him go. They're not afraid. You know what I'm saying? And Man United Forbes magazine just released a report about the biggest value of clubs in the world. Manchester United comes second to Real Madrid, and we're only behind by literally, I think it was it might have been a million, or it was a really small marginal amount. But from a footballing standpoint, Manchester United are quite a big distance from Real Madrid in terms of the structure and whatnot. We have to be like that. And that all obviously has to do with new ownership, the decisions that are being made up top. And of course, there's a plethora of problems. But at the end of the day, Manchester United have to be in a position where we have to be making better decisions both on and off the pitch. And I think we're slowly getting to that. I want to say next year challenging. I would love to see it. I think it's possible if we especially bring in somebody like, a proper central defender, a world-class number 9. If we can bring those players in, I can definitely sit here and say, hey, we can challenge. But my hopes are still my expectations are still kind of, here.
Yeah. And we got Jarvis with us. Jarvis, how are you doing?
Big up, Maisy. Big up, John. And big up to the chat. So nice to see all those people here. Pig is not obviously not here, but we fill in and do our best. Nice
Mhm.
discussion, guys. I've been listening a couple of minutes, so yeah, just
Mhm.
continue, and I'll try to join in.
Great. There was a question that was in the chat, and that was from Rabbit, and it was about how can Man United avoid silly mistakes in games. I wanted to ask you about that, John. First, of where do you think we can avoid the silly mistakes?
Robbie, this is actually a great comment that you brought up because I was doing a live stream yesterday, and for the first time, I was livid, and it was actually odd because I was livid at Bruno Fernandes. There was a sequence in the second half where we did work so damn hard to win the ball back, and the ball came to the feet of Bruno Fernandes, and it was a 2v1 situation. They were moving the ball in transition, and Christian Eriksen was making the run, but you could clearly tell that Christian Eriksen wasn't really, off on his toes, sprinting full blast. He was kind of just like jogging forward, thinking that Bruno Fernandes was going to do something else with it. But instead, Bruno Fernandes looks at Christian Eriksen dead in the eye, and he feeds him this through ball that's so aggressive that Christian Eriksen can't get to it. And then the Man City win, and this is obviously sort of a long situation, but Man City win the ball back in that sequence. They weave the ball around, and then Garnacho concedes a foul, whatever, and then they score the second goal. These are the small, silly mistakes. Bruno Fernandes is a class player. Christian Eriksen is a class player. That kind of error, simple 5-yard passes cannot happen. And that literally comes down to these blips in this moment. Some explainable, some not. We know Bruno Fernandes. If he's on it, that man is on it. But sometimes there are moments where he just has drops 0 out of 10 stinkers. You know what I mean? And that also comes down to players around him, how they can move. Christian Eriksen is not a quick, energetic, industrious player. Especially we saw yesterday. That was a damning verdict on what's happening to Christian Eriksen. His legs are going. I love him to bits. I think Christian Eriksen makes football look easy, and I love him so much. But you can clearly tell the industry is not there. And those are the things that we need to kind of work on and address. And like I said, some can be addressed, some cannot. But a lot of that can be also addressed with new players and more time, especially in this coming preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. There was definitely things that I noticed in the game, and I do think at time to time, I feel like there's sometimes that bit of a mental barrier I've seen to see with some of the players to think, oh, we're here against Manchester City and it's at Wembley, and oh, we're Anfield with Liverpool, and I think sometimes there's that little bit of a barrier there as they try and put themselves down, and they try to, how can I say, they try to get over, try to do too much at once, and because they try and do things too much and they're rushing, like you look at the simple passes, what could be done, but then instead of that, they're just giving the ball away. The possession, the simple passes don't help. The backward passing as well really does not help whatsoever. I think they're two of the things what I think the preseason will definitely help in terms of that. And as you've mentioned, other things will come a little bit later on in terms of the the new players, in terms of Ten Hag at trying to get his kind of squad together. Because right now, this Manchester United team is still very unbalanced because it's still got a lot of players from all different kinds of managers. So this, at this moment in time, is not really Eric Ten Hag's team. So it's just going to be a bit of time at this moment to get to where Ten Hag wants it as a team.
Yeah, I'm sure Jarvis is going to
Yeah.
add a point, but just to kind of quickly touch it up on that point, Pep Guardiola's team looks so good, and they make football look easy because they've been trained and ingrained into that system with the players that they have. I was telling you before, John Stones, Rodri, they were Ruben Diaz, like they were even a Kanji, like they were just messing around like as if they were just playing, like I said, Rondo before, and that's because they've had time trained and they're all on the same page. Manchester United, Maisy, you used the perfect word, unbalanced. Christian Eriksen, we want to play energy. One of the reasons why we're looking at Mason Mount is because he brings that energy. He might not be the world class 8 that we're looking at, but at least he has prem experience. He's done it before. We've seen him kick dope ball before, and on top of that, he provides the industry to cap it all off. And we're looking for that balance. We're searching for it. Once we have that balance, these weird errors and things like that, it'll be a lot far and few in between.
And Daly said here as well, De Gea let the slide down with that last goal. Defense 2 went through so slow. They should have took it in the chest with a worthy block, even painful lacking. Yeah, I think it was the ball watching both goals that really took took Manchester City to getting that win. But what's your thoughts as well on that question, Jarvis?
Yeah, to avoid mistakes. John was mentioning about, and you were mentioning about balance, and you have to see it all in one big picture, because it all starts when we play out from the back. We got to think about Ten Hag's principle of play. He wants to play out from the back. He wants to control the game. He wants to play out from the back so he can create overloads when we come to the midfield. You're talking about setting up triangles, and we want to set up triangles and play the ball, play it on one side, shift play onto the other side, isolate the winger against the fullback, and create chances. It's very easy when you study Ten Hag style, but it's extremely efficient. Right now, at the moment, we struggle with a couple of things, and for me, it starts from the back. It starts from De Gea. He can't play the ball with the center backs. We have to. If you have seen Brighton, for example, and Manchester City, they leave two center backs and the goalkeeper to play the ball in a triangle. They can play off the pressure and move on to the next phase of the play. Right now, we can't do that because De Gea, he's not capable with the ball. They try to play, but every time they play back to De Gea and he's under pressure, he hoofs the ball up to the midfield onto a duel, and we lose the ball. So we're not doing Eriksen and Casemiro a favor playing like this. It's always a duel. It's a new duel all the time. So that's the biggest problem, as I see it. And I've been saying this all season. If we are going to improve our play, we need a new goalkeeper, because I don't think De Gea can do this. He played a little bit better when we had Martinez, because Martinez is so good on the ball, so he helped him out. But right now, as soon as Martinez was injured, we saw the old De Gea came back. And now I think we struggle a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree with that with De Gea, and myself, I have been quite critical with David De Gea for a few seasons now, and I do think for me is the Premier League football in itself has changed since we've signed De Gea back in 2013. It's about having goalkeepers now who are so good on the feet, who are so good at doing the long passes. You look at goalkeepers who are so good in the league now. You're looking at the likes of Ederson and Alisson, and you're looking at Martinez from Aston Villa and David Raya. Them type of goalkeepers are they're great at commanding the box. They're great at they're not intimidated at all of what they're doing. They like to play a little bit of mind games. They're great with the distribution. Shot stopping is great, but shot stopping doesn't make a goalkeeper for me in itself.
Yeah, you're right. And when we talk about goalkeepers, when you mentioned all the other goalkeepers, it's not only playing out from the back, like playing with the ball under pressure. David De Gea has also other weaknesses. He doesn't sweep. He can't claim the crosses. He's not a commanding goalkeeper. He doesn't command his back line. So he has plenty of deficiencies. So I think we gotta move on, and hopefully we get a new goalkeeper this summer.
And Sports Favourer said, I love De Gea and Martial, but we need a clear out. They're not good enough anymore. Martial with quite a lot of injury issues this season. I think I've read it. In the past 2 seasons, he's had 9 separate injuries at Manchester United. You can't continue that with 250k a week. De Gea is not getting any better. He's not adapting to what the Premier League is now, what football is now, and which is a shame. And Big T as well said Eriksen is becoming like Mata, got a magic pass but not the legs. I always initially thought, I don't know about you, John, is that I felt like that was Eriksen's kind of role was to be a bit like a Mata when he first joined, like having that little bit of leadership and a little bit of experience there into the dressing room for the younger players there, for like Rashford and for Sancho, and to have that bit of an important voice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you always need players like that in a squad anywhere you go. You look at Real Madrid, you can clearly tell that they were outclassed against Manchester City in the Champions League, despite having Kroos and Modric in midfield, because they just didn't have the legs. Real Madrid, Man City were running circles around them. their role in the coming seasons, they've signed new extensions. Their role in the coming seasons is to slowly transition and phase in the likes of Camavinga, the likes of Tchouaméni, the likes of Valverde, the likes of potentially Jude Bellingham if he joins Real Madrid. These are the players that you need to sort of, guide them into this new sort of generation. Eriksen is that kind of guy. I don't think, kind of like Daniel James. Nobody expected Daniel James to come in and play like 30, 40 games a season and just start from Manchester United like that. Christian Eriksen, I think, also is kind of similar in the sense. I mean, at least we didn't. Maybe Erik ten Hag did, but that's my point precisely, is that football is moving and adapting so much faster than we've ever seen before. The reason why Chelsea got rid of Juan Mata after having an incredible season when Juan Mata was playing in the 10 was because I think what Chelsea knew immediately, that was a good move on their part, is that football was advancing and evolving. It was getting more physical, more faster, more intense in every aspect of a footballer, down to the height, to the strength, and all these different aspects all put together needs to be addressed. And I loved Juan Mata. He was one of my favorite players, but Juan Mata was one of those players that just felt like it wasn't going to fit Chelsea's sort of, next step. And when he joined Man United, he obviously didn't play in the 10. He played mostly on the right. You know what I mean? Like those are all characteristics and attributes that people seem to forget. And I think Christian Eriksen, the comparison to Juan Mata, I think it's pretty spot on. But do I think he's the same in terms of his legs being gone? I think they're a little bit different. I think Eriksen provides a little bit more. That's not to disrespect Juan Mata in any way. I think Christian Eriksen is a little bit more of a neater footballer. Juan Mata's got that silky touch. That ball can come down from the moon, and he'll just, you know what I mean? But either way, my point is there are clear things that needs to be addressed. We need a midfielder to not just compete for Christian Eriksen, but also to compete for Casemiro's spot, to compete for the number 10 role. We need depth. Man City had Riyad Mahrez on the bench. They had Phil Foden on the bench. Manchester United, Erik ten Hag. Imagine you're Erik ten Hag. Your team just conceded in the 14th second, right? We somehow brought it back 1-1. He's like scratching his head. He's turning back, and he sees Valvegas. He sees Facundo Pellistri, Garnacho, obviously young players, but he sees his depth, and he goes, oh, my days. And he's scratching the hell out of his bald head because he has no options. We have a long ways to go.
And no, we don't want Eric Dyer at Manchester United. We want to get rid of Deadwood. Don't be shifting your Deadwood to us. So I wanted to ask for yous, who is your player of the season? And everyone in the chat as well, put your player of the season in the chat, because there is some great contenders. I'm gonna say mine first. Is I had Casemiro as my player of the season. And it was quite difficult because there was Rashford, there was Martinez, Luke Shaw could have been probably fourth there as well. And I think for me is with Casemiro, I feel like he was that rock in the team. It felt like if there was no Casemiro, we wasn't there in the squad overall. And he helped out the defense. He was shifting forward when needed to be as well. I thought, for me, it got to the point where I thought, bloody hell, Casemiro's becoming a bit of a steal here for us. The amount we paid for Real Madrid, and you think realistically, how could Real Madrid let go of such a great player? And they haven't even been the same team. When I last checked La Liga, they were in third place, and that is just gone from losing a couple of your best players, a couple of injuries there as well. But who's your best player, Jarvis, for you?
Yeah, if it hasn't been for the injury, Martinez would have been the player of the season for me. He came in and he changed our defense, and he changed all of the mindset of the defense. Every time we had a block, they were like high-fiving each other, and it was like there was power in the game. We were playing for each other. We were suddenly united again. So it was sad he got that injury, but I agree with you, Maisy. When you reflect on the end of the season, it was Casemiro who dragged us over the line in the last couple of games. He stood up like the general is. So for me, yes, it's Casemiro.
What about yourself, John? Who would you say your player of the season was?
Look, this stream, I'm not trying to make it boring, but look, I went with Casemiro. I have the home kit, the away kit, the third kit, all in Casemiro. I've been learning Portuguese. I've been doing everything I can to just idolize Casemiro. He made Manchester United look a different level today. You were mentioning before how Real Madrid haven't looked the same in La Liga without Casemiro. Casemiro, ironically, actually has played the most amount of league games ever in his career at Manchester United, which is incredible. I mean, that kind of statistic, I mean, whether it be in Real Madrid or Manchester United, the fact that he in the Premier League, that is an incredibly difficult thing to achieve. You know what I mean? To play the game that he, and I think he's 32 or something like that. Like, he's not a young man. Like, that's for me, to play the level that he played. And the thing that I loved about Casemiro, I don't want to drag this on because I could sit here for an hour and talk about how amazing Casemiro is. But the thing that he made so incredible was he made everybody else around him look good. And that's the thing that for me makes like a player stand out amongst the rest. He made Manchester United look that much more elite. It's kind of like when Sir Alex Ferguson used to play Wayne Rooney and Ryan Giggs alongside players like Darren Gibson and freaking, I don't know. I want to throw OG names back at Oberton, Makeda, throw Tom Cleverley. That's not to disrespect any of them, but you have the right players in that squad and they elevate it. Sandro Martinez, I think Jarvis was spot on. Also the same. Building out from the back, bringing that energy and the rawness with the nickname The Butcher. I mean, you feel it. You don't just see it from an eye test. You feel that energy. Casemiro also brought that feeling in terms of making everybody look so good. When he's on the ball, you can see the players ahead of him believing that they're gonna receive something from behind. They're making the run. Casemiro takes the half turn, 40-yard diagonal, picks out players. They have that confidence. He just brings that extra level, and I think it would have been so clear if he hadn't had those suspensions. But for me, still, that's how impactful he was for me, and that's why it has to be Casemiro.
And Liquor in the front, Poker in the rear wants a shout out from you, John.
Hey, Liquor, he shows up on my channel. We have a great time. We have a great conversation. The name is crazy, so just read Liquor. I don't read the rest. Just Liquor is good enough.
Well, and here's another one. What Big T has said: Bruno has created more chances than De Bruyne. He's actually got the most in the entire league. I think he's got roughly, I think it's about 140 and 115 chances created. And you're looking at that in itself, and you think, imagine if we had an out-and-out number 9. The amount of assists Bruno Fernandes could have had.
Can I just say, I know Jarvis is going to say something, but can I just say, Kevin De Bruyne has Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Erling Haaland in front of him. This guy is a monster. You put the ball, he'll get there. His stride is like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a monster. He's an incredibly physically talented, gifted human being. Like, that is a talent. He'll get there. That's easier than, for example, a Bruno Fernandes who has to put it on a plate. You know what I'm saying? And I think those are differences. And that just goes to show how much of an impactful season Bruno Fernandes has also had. I just kind of wanted to include that in there. Just Kevin De Bruyne, he's a great player, but Bruno Fernandes deserves his flowers as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to talk about this later, but I'm just jumping ahead. So when it comes to Bruno, next season we need a new striker. And the striker I'm looking for is Højlund from Atalanta. That guy, he's incredible. He's tall. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", and he has power. He's and one of his biggest attributes is pace. He can run the 100-meter in 11 seconds. That's almost like Olympic level. So he's a diamond in the rough. He's young. He's not a prolific goal scorer at the moment, but he can get there. So maybe if we buy him, we need a number, like use him like a number 2 striker and fill in for perhaps maybe Kane or another big name striker. But one of Højlund's biggest attributes when it comes to Bruno is Højlund is on the 99th percentile of progressive passes received in the top 5 leagues of Europe this year. Mm-hmm. So imagine him and Bruno together. It can be dynamite.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I am going to be like, I haven't watched much of him, so I couldn't really say like, would I want him, would I not? I'm not, I only watch certain teams from Italy. I haven't watched much of Atalanta, but like, we 100% need a striker, no doubt about that. And I can see as well that people were posting, oh, look, he's followed all the United players, he's followed this person, he's followed that person. So I think people are getting their hopes up. But I've said, based off our current squad, the striker who I will personally take, I know, again, this is going to divide opinions, is Harry Kane. Because you look at the type of wingers we've got at Man United, they're not ones who would cross it to an out-and-out number 9. They prefer to cut in and shoot for themselves. And I just think for me, in terms of that doesn't suit, people like to say, a tapping kind of striker. It wouldn't suit the likes of Osimhen coming to Manchester United. You need someone who is gonna, especially if Bruno isn't on his A game, he's gonna need to create for himself and then bring the ball forward for themselves as well. And the only two strikers that I could think of would be Harry Kane and Martinez from Inter Milan. They're the only two strikers I can think of off the top of my head who I think would really suit Manchester United.
I've been singing this. I've been saying we need 2 strikers. I think Jarvis mentioned it exactly the way I agree. We need a world-class or sort of a more completed number 9 to lead the line, and then a backup. And that's relatively young, filled with potential, get him some game time here and there, and eventually sort of lead him into this next generation. Rasmus Højlund, I actually did a profile on him on my channel. And funny enough, I uploaded that video and he saw my video on my story and he reacted to it. I was absolutely buzzing. Wow. I was like, oh my goodness. And after that, I was sold. I was just like, I'm done. We're bringing Erasmus. I kept an eye. So I was following his career. I was watching his clips from like Sturm Graz and all these other clubs that he played for. And of course, I've watched a lot more Serie A this season because Kim Min-jae played for Napoli. And of course, I've been keeping a really close eye on Napoli. I've watched Atalanta. He is a promising talent. He's nowhere near the finished article. I don't even think he's anywhere near the levels of Osimhen, but he definitely shows so much potential in his qualities and his characters. And he even said in an interview himself, he loves to model his game off of the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think they're very different styles of players, but the mentality, the energy, the belief behind the kind of potential in a player like Rasmus Højlund, I would rather, no disrespect to your opinion, Maisy, but I am not the biggest fan of Lautaro Martinez. I just feel like he's not, I feel like he's, respectfully speaking, I think he's a little bit overrated. And I would rather pay 50 mil or however Atalanta's charging for a Rasmus Højlund and maybe a Victor Osimhen than a Harry Kane, because he's going to be so damn expensive that Manchester United are just not going to be able to move that kind of money to bring in a striker like Harry Kane and a replacement. Martial's going to go, so we need 2.
Well, what's your thoughts then on Ramos from Benfica? Because I've said he's just started really to play as that number 9 at Benfica. I think he needs another season in the Portuguese league before we even attempt to go for him. And the price tag is going to be crazy high because of, 1, Benfica's just won the league, and 2, his World Cup performance.
Yeah, when it comes to Ramos, I have to be honest. I haven't looked too much into him because for me, I don't think he will be available. I think Benfica is a hard club to bargain with, and he will probably be too expensive. And when you come to his level of money, we are better off like signing Kane or Lautaro Martinez, as someone mentioned, or one of the other big name players. I think he will be too expensive.
What about you, John? Have you seen much of Ramos?
I did, and then I gave up on him pretty quickly because Rasmus Højlund watched my clip. So, he actually saw my post again recently, and like a couple of them. So, no, but all jokes aside, I think Jarvis is spot on. Benfica, they are absolute. They make bank when it comes to charging players for, especially selling them to top teams. And they are a great club for doing that, almost like the luxury, the Rolls Royce of feeder club, if you will. And they are a fantastic club for breeding great talent. But Gonzalo Ramos, as great as a player he is, from a fiscal standpoint, I would rather us move a little bit more smarter in the market by rather investing in a player like Rasmus Højlund, who I think has all the potential to succeed. I'm sure Gonzalo Ramos can also have a fantastic career as well. But I'm already almost sold on the idea of Osimhen and Osimhen and a Højlund, or a Kane and a Højlund, and I just feel like it's a bit more smarter from us.
Mm-hmm. And talking one more part about transfers is one that we have seen very recently, which is I think more than likely we are going to do, is Mason Mount from Chelsea. Apparently we've assigned the personal terms with him. That's already been agreed, but it's just about how much we're going to pay for him. Because I think Chelsea want around 70 to 80 million, and we won't go any further than 50 million. And again, that's divided a lot of opinions. And I can already see by John's face, he doesn't seem impressed.
80 mil? What in God's green earth? They're charging 80 mil? Get the hell out of him. 80 mil is crazy money for a player like Mason Mount. Look, it's crazy because I used to, as a Man United fan, I used to do streams and whatever. And when we do streams, I talk, I'm a lover of football. So I talk about other players in a very high regard, especially if I like them. Jack Grealish is a player that I really like. Mason Mount is another player that I really, really liked. I used to call him Mount Mason because I heard Chunks in a different show talk about him like that. As much as I love him, he's not an 80 mil player. And Chelsea know that. They just value him at, it's a buyer, a seller haggling situation. You're at a market, you sell me 2 pigs, I give you a couple chickens and oranges. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a trade here. We're not giving them 80 mil. They know that too. But where does that valuation now drop? Apparently the rumor is that we're sort of looking at 50 mil. I still think 50 mil is a little too much. I think if Manchester United want to improve in the market, in the way that we do business, we have to figure out a better way than 50 mil. I think Manchester United are sending the wrong representatives. You know what I'm saying? They need to send like me and my grandma. We'll bargain that down. We'll bargain it down. I'm telling you, 50 mil is still too much for Mason Mount, respectfully speaking. I love him. I want him to join. I think he's a fantastic signing, especially somebody like Mason Mount, who I think has a point to prove, especially to the Chelsea fans. Chelsea has been in a tumultuous state of all tumultuous affairs. Let's be real. And Mason Mount has been dragged in that rubble. He's been absolutely torn apart by Chelsea fans for not stepping up. Certain times you need a new fresh start. You need to change things up. It's not the player's fault. There's all sorts of factors. And for Mason Mount, he's going to have a point to prove. He's going to come back with a vengeance. If we can bring him and really tap into that, and I know Erik ten Hag can definitely do that, I'd love him. But for even 80 mil, hell no. For 50 mil,
Reese has said as well the maximum 50 mil, 45 million his max. I really like as well Mason Mount, and I also did hear what Licorice said about Harry Maguire, and I've heard that they will be negotiate with Harry Maguire in the deal. Don't know how true that is. If that is the case, fantastic. We don't have to pay that 10 million for Harry Maguire to go. But I do like Mason Mount. The thing what I like about Mason Mount is the versatility that he does bring to the squad. He can play as an 8, he can play as a 10, he can play as a right winger. And I think for me, there's some players in that squad who are far too comfortable of where they are, and they need a little bit of competition. What's your thoughts on the Mason Mount news, Jarvis?
Yeah, Mason Mount. The positive things with Mason Mount as a player is hardly ever injured and never injured, and he plays a lot of games at a reasonable high level. He never drops really deep in level. So he's consistent, and us as a team, we need more players like that. If you compare us with, for example, Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp is a master finding players like that. He has like Trent, he has Van Dijk, Robertson, Henderson, Salah, and Mane when they used to play, and they were never injured. They played like 55, 60 games a season. So Mason Mount is one of those. He's like kind of like Bruno. He can always play. He's never injured, and he never drops in what do you call it, quality. So in that way, I could take Mason Mount, but I heard rumors, and I think this is just on an agent level. All the rumors from Romano and all that is just what my friend Mick Ruby on my channel call it. They call it Scooby-Doo. It's just BS. So I think it's the agents want to sell him, but I don't think he's on Ten Hag's list. At least not on the top 3 list. It's like number 7.
Done and dusted said, just get players and get United to win the treble again. We can only hope that could happen. But
yeah, sorry, Maisy, but yeah. I just forgot. And another thing, we have the homegrown rule, the Brexit rule, basically, and we need more English players or players who have played in the FA who's over 21 years old. And Mason Mount would fill one of those brackets. And we need from 17 to 25, it's 8 players. And this season, we're probably selling a lot of the homegrown players like Henderson, McTominay, Maguire, you name it. So Mason Mount ticks on very many points for Ten Hag.
This has just made me laugh from Madhouse. Mount will get injured early next season, and the hoodoo is on Jarvis. If that is the case, we will be having worse Jarvis if that does happen. I hope it doesn't, though. Bear in mind, Reza said we need a goalkeeper, 2 defenders, 3 midfielders, and a striker. Definitely not going to happen overnight, but I do agree is that we do need that. I'm going to say who's your flop of the season now. And I'm going to go for you with that first, John.
Oh, flop of the season. Oh, man. You can't ask Good Vibes John to pick up a flop. Let's see. If I'm being, look, and I speak with the utmost respect, when it comes to, I just want to preface this by saying that when we talk about football players, we criticize the player and the attributes as a football player. We never go against the individual and the human being that they are. With that being said, I have to say the flop of the season for me, it still continues to be, I think, a toss-up between Harry Maguire and this breaks my heart to say, but people might say Jadon Sancho, but for the people, especially in the chat that are coming from my channel, they know how much I absolutely love and adore Jadon Sancho. He has not had a good season, but I think Harry Maguire and Jadon Sancho probably. I can't. This literally, I feel a pain in my groin talking about it this way about Jadon Sancho. I love him to death, but he's just not had a good season. That's a fact. And I believe it in my heart to be true that he's going to have a fantastic career. I truly believe that, but it's going to be a toss-up between the two of them for me. Oh, man, this hurts so much. I wish you didn't ask me that. Oh, God. But yeah, those two.
Well, I'm just going to say it. Martial, big flop.
I'm sorry, Maisy. I don't mean to interrupt, but for me, people know since I played FIFA 17 with Joe Flying Pig on this channel, I've not rated Martial. I don't even consider him a flop. I think he's been done for Manchester United. If we're going like that, then Martial like up here, and then the other two. But yeah, sorry.
To be honest, though, it was kind of one of them where I was literally before he started in pre-season, I thought, well, based off Martial, I do expect a little bit better, just because obviously I think he'd suit Ten Hag's system a lot better, and then he's just constantly injured, and when he is fit, he's lazy. And that's why I'm going to consider him as a flop, because to be honest, I've had high expectations of him, which I don't know why I did, but I did. Who's your flop, Jarvis?
Yeah, you already mentioned my 2 flops, but I can be a little bit controversial. Maybe we could say Ronaldo. He was the flop of the season. Yep. We were expecting so much from him since last year. He scored, I don't know, 27 goals or maybe 30. I can't remember. But, he came in, he couldn't work with Ten Hag. He was always rumored to getting out of here, and he ended up with that anti-climax with the interview, and he went away. So that was a big flop for me. And, we expected more goals from Ronaldo, and we had Ronaldo FC and everybody, we have the history with Ronaldo, and it didn't work out, unfortunately. So, yeah. If you don't mention Martial or Anthony, okay, then it has to be Ronaldo.
Rush Mano and Jake Peter mentioned Donny as a flop, and that is an actual good one to mention, but well, I have said a lot of things about Donny for sure, but I just don't think he's Premier League quality. If you want me to be fairly honest, I don't think he's up for the Premier League. But before we do wrap up, I just want to get a quick thought of both of you with the situation with the current ownership at Manchester United, because we've heard a lot. Qatar, Jim Ratcliffe, we've heard about the Class A, Class B shares, we've heard a lot of stuff, and apparently we're not going to know till sometime this month who's going to get Man United. Constant bidding wars. So I just want to get your thoughts on it first of all, Jarvis.
Say again?
On the current ownership situation.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sick of talking about it. It's been with the Qatar and Ineos and back and forward. Fabrizio Romano treating this like it was a transfer. Here we go, last bid, 12-hour bid, 11th hour. It's finance. I hope the Qatari comes in. In my mind, they have the biggest wallet. They have more money. So if they want the club, they will get it. That's just my thoughts about it. I don't have any I'm not in the known. I don't have any info. So it's just my gut feeling.
I just think for me, it's just been. I know a lot of people probably expected it to be so quick because of obviously what happened with Chelsea, but I think at the same time, I just think it's so greedy the way they're just continuing to make new stages constantly to bid more and more each time just so they can get the highest amount of money. You're already making a profit by doing 5 billion. And that's not even for the full Manchester United, bear in mind. That's for 70-80% of Manchester United. So I just look at it and think it's just pure greediness. You're just leaving the club at a standstill, and they're still taking money out of the club with when Avram Glazer decides to come to Wembley and for all his expenses. What's your thoughts, John?
A lot of my fans are a little bit annoyed with me because I rarely make content on the ownership situation. Like the journalists, it's easy for them to generate clicks when you put the words Manchester United and ownership in an article or a headline, right? I am very against that because I think at the end of the day, this whole crap about the ownership thing, it's so out of our control, and it's honestly a billionaire's plaything. And it's the sad world of reality that we live in that Manchester United are put in this situation. We can, if we're going back in time and if we're beating dead horses, it's literally the FA and the Premier League that shouldn't even have sold the club to the Glazers, allowed the transaction to occur in the first place. But that's another conversation. My point is it's out of our hands and it's out of our control. We don't have really any power in that situation because the Glazers, these rats, you know what they're doing. You mentioned it, Maisy. The mother, sorry, I don't want, I'm trying not to swear, but he billed us, our club, for his stupid ass flight, and like it's like these things, it's out of our control. It's these billionaire playthings. When you're looking at stocks, when you're looking at the market, the amount of shares that go up and down, the Manchester United as a stock has been so volatile from a trader standpoint. If you're not even watching football, from a trader standpoint, it's so fun because the money's going up and down. It's such a good opportunity for you to make money. And that's what it is. It's a billionaire's plaything. And it's so disgusting that a club like Manchester United are in this position. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And we have no choice. I want the owner that's going to bring the end to the Glazer ownership. I don't even give a damn at this point who it is. That's why I have no expectations. And I don't care. I'm just focusing more on the football side of things.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be one of them situations at the end of the day. It is out of our hands. We know that one of them are going to be the owners at the end of the day, but I just think it's just probably causing a lot more frustration more than anything. And we do know of how it will come to be if the Glazers were still to own a part of Manchester United anyway. But from here, we will wrap it up. Thank you both, John and Jarvis, for coming on. It's been fantastic to talk to you both. It's been a long time as well. John, would you like to shout out your socials?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a good vibes, John, across the board. I'm almost everywhere, but I usually chat rubbish and talk stupid things like this. The link to the channel is in the description below. You guys can always come chat. Me and Joe, we've been going for a long time, way back when. He's actually, I call him one of my senseis because he actually was one of the first guys to ever welcome an American to talk about Manchester United on his channel, and we had a great time. We used to play football back in the day. He taught me how to use the word twat. I remember I said twat, and he was like, "What the hell are you saying?" Like, we had a great time, and I know he's going through a very tough time right now. So, chat and everybody, if you guys are near and far to Joe, just send him some love. He needs all the love he can get. So, I just want to just end it on this by saying that sending good vibes to Joe's way, and of course the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as I said as well at the start of the show, sending all my love there to Flying Pig, and I do hope that he is okay. And I know everybody on the channel who watches him as well are sending all their love and all their wishes over to him. And thank you as well, Jarvis. Would you like to shout out your socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Bowley77, BOLE77. And you can find me on MUFC Realist TV.
Yes, and 2 great channels there. As John's mentioned, the link is in the description too. My channel is Devils United. I do Manchester United content on there, both for men and women's football. So you can check that out. And we will see you soon Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.